Hello, good morning. This is Nilanjana Chaudhary, a teacher in MGM Higher Secondary School, Bokaro. I take English language and literature in class 11 and 12. My greetings to all my viewers. I welcome you all to my first video. A special welcome to all my new student entrants in class 11. You are going to start your academic session now, so my best wishes for all of you. At present, the global society is battling against a deadly virus. The world is now COVID-19 pandemic stricken. One way of fighting against it is by staying at home and avoiding social gatherings. School is a society in miniature. So, to avoid mingling with others, schools are shut physically, but they are running on virtual platforms. I hope very soon we will be able to come out of this situation and meet each other in person at school. So, with that hope, let's proceed further. In this video, I am going to discuss about a lesson named The Portrait of a Lady, authored by famous Indian novelist Khusbant Singh. This chapter has been taken from Hornbill, a prescribed textbook in class 11 English curriculum. Dear students, let me inform you that in class 11 English curriculum there are two books. One is Hornbill, other one is Snapshot. Let me see you the books. This one is Hornbill Core Course Main Reader book. Next one is this one, Snapshot. This is Supplementary Reader. Now, the course of discussion of this chapter will include several things. These are introduction of the writer, thematic content, setting, synopsis, plots, etc., textual discussion, important extracts, discussion and explanation of important extracts, writing style, vocabulary, literary devices, and lastly, I will discuss a few important questions. Let us start discussion of the text now. And first, let me begin with introducing the author. Author Khusbant Singh served Indian English literature as a novelist. His experience in the 1947 partition of India ignited his literary mind and inspired to pen one of his most famous novel called Train to Pakistan. Afterwards, we have got a feature film also by the same name which was shot based on this novel. Apart from being a novelist, he was an ace journalist, a columnist, a diplomat, a successful lawyer as well. He was awarded Padma Bhushan in 1974. This story, The Portrait of a Lady, is an autobiographical excerpt. Here he draws a verbal or pen portrait of his grandmother. This is a beautiful and emotional tribute from a grandson to a grandmother. Now, what is the theme? Let me introduce the theme. The story unfolds a beautiful, loving, emotional bond what a grandson and a grandmother share with each other. Fortunate are those whose grandparents are still alive and live together. I remember I used to visit my grandmother in vacations, and you believe me, I used to enjoy much in those days. Some of my wish, which shouldn't be approved by my parents, used to be fulfilled by my grandmother. You get to be soaked by the warmth of their love and affection. Grandparents happen to be so. Well, I would love to hear your experience as well with your grandmother, right? Okay, back to the story again. I am discussing about the theme. So it centers around the relationship between the author and his grandmother and depicts friendship, love, care, connection, kindness, affection, what is reflected in their relationship. Though this one is the theme of the story. Now let me tell you about the setting or backdrop of the story. The story is set first at village where writer Khusban Singh used to live with his grandmother, and she alone only was responsible to take care of her little grandchild as author's parents moved to the city to settle down over there. And this backdrop changes when narrator's parents, once they are well settled in the city, sent for them to ship there in the city to live with them, as the narrator needed to get admitted in city schools and colleges for his better education. Eventually, they all started living in the city together. Although author for a few years went to abroad for his further studies and was back home in the city after earning a degree. Now, time to proceed further with the synopsis and plots. This story beautifully depicts the relationship which undergoes several changes in their relationship, in the course of time. Now, dear students, what do you think about these changes? Whether these changes were for their betterment or whether these changes created or marked any difference in their relationship and forever? Well, you will get to know once I start discussion of the paragraphs and important lines. For now, you know that in this lesson we find the story to be divided into 4 phases. The narrator starts describing his grandmother's appearance. The first phase depicts their life in village. Second phase starts when they shifted to the city. Further, events and incidents, as for example getting admission in city school and then in college, going abroad and returning back, and what happened after he returned back his home, all these are depicted in subsequent phases. So let me start now with the discussion of the paragraphs. Let me read. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People had said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband. But that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother, being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child. That seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. The introductory paragraph, we get to know his grandmother through his eyes. What he says, my grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. Obviously, grandmothers, everybody's grandmother, old woman. They are old women. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. From very childhood days, he has got his grandmother like this way only. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband. Now, what is this? We have an image of our grandmothers in our mind, they will be old with wrinkled face, they will stoop and hobble. Though the image of grandmothers in our mind nowadays is not similar. Whatever, at the author's contemporary time, the image of grandmothers in people's mind happened to be so. The line here, people say that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband. So this line shows his non-believing tone and his innocence. He can't believe the fact that his grandmother also would have her children. She would have her husband. She was so old that he is forced to believe that his grandmother only can have grandchildren. This reflects narrator's innocence once again. So, same tone reflected here also. The thought was almost revolting. As for my grandmother's being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. He cannot think and accept that he cannot accept that his grandmother will be young and pretty. His mind revolts against this fact. So this idea. So he feels this quite undignified and absurd for a grandmother to be young and to play as a child. It seems this fact seems like a fiction to him, as he has told about his grandfather as well. Grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife. Similarly, he thinks and feels the same about his grandfather as well. So, like grandparents, he feels that they will be old enough, they won't be young and pretty and handsome, and they only have grandchildren. This is nothing but a child's innocence. He expresses a non-believing tone over here. Now, let me proceed further to the second paragraph. The narrator, what he says, let us check it out. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her. Old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop, and the other telling the beads of her rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. Have you noticed one line over there? She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. Do you find any contradiction in his opinion? Actually, no, my dear students. This is all about our image we have about something and someone in our mind. He considers and accepts the familiar image of grandmother. Apart from that, grandmother in any other way, he is not at all ready to accept. But when he says his grandmother is beautiful, that reflects his acceptance of the image due to familiarity. He finds beauty in so-called puckered face with her silver locks. Moreover, her loving, affectionate, caring nature made her beautiful in his eyes. Beauty is there in the eyes of the beholder. And here, her beauty is compared to the winter landscape in the mountains. What is the point of comparison here? Can you tell me? Well, yes, similarity. As winter landscape has calm, serene effect. Similarly, her grandmother also in pure white sari with silver locks, her being contented in life reflects that calm, peaceful, soothing, serene aspect of the nature and of her persona. Dear students, have you noticed one another thing over here? That means color white. It has a significance. That is solely my interpretation, but let's see whether you agree. In the phrases when he says, an expanse of pure white serenity and in spotless white, there is a significant role of color white. White signifies peace, purity, cleanliness, calm and soothing effect of the nature. It gives us a positive connotation. Similarly, the character of narrator's grandmother, a sweet person, loving, caring, affectionate towards her grandchild, her peaceful life, fully contented, reflects and gives us a glimpse of that positivity and purity. It's the same serenity and purity what we can find over there in fresh, picturesque, pristine white snow-capped mountains in winter. So this is the point of comparison based on similarity. So you have seen how he has described and depicted his grandmother's appearance. Whenever he says his grandmother never can be young, could be young and pretty, but yes, of course, she was always beautiful. Now let's move on to the next paragraph and what he further says. Let us check it out. All this one also. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. I listened it because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen pot and a red pen, tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. After a breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. So you have seen in village, whenever he depicts, this paragraph depicts the first phase of their relationship. Both of them, they spend time together from dawn to dusk. His grandmother is there, always extending her helping hand to her grandchild. She was only the person responsible to take care of her grandchild, the narrator. She was to wake him up, make him ready for the school, means doing everything whatever he needs. Next paragraph says, my grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabets and the morning prayer, while the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabets for the prayer in a chorus. My grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together This time, the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw to them. Now, this paragraph says that grandmother also used to accompany him to school. Whenever he was there at school, learning the things, she used to be there at the temple adjacent to the school. She used to read the scriptures and all, and once he was finished with his all studies and lessons, both of them, they used to walk back home. Now, next paragraph. What next paragraph says? You will find just one turning point over there in their relationship. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. That was a turning point in our friendship. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took note to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. Now this time he says, and consider this one a turning point. Which one? They are shifting to the city. Once his parents, they are well settled in the city, they sent for them, and they joined grandmother and the narrator. They joined narrator's parents in the city. He got admitted to an English medium school, and no more grandmother is able to accompany him because he avails motorbus then. And this actually resulted in to have less time to share with each other, less time. And obviously what other changes has happened, let me see. Even though they shared same room, but obviously less time, because compared to the village, you can think that whenever he used to be at school, whenever he used to go to school, that time also she used to accompany him. So obviously less time now they get to share to each other, with each other. As the years rolled by, we saw less of each other. For some time she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning. The law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being around us, and etc. This made her unhappy. She could not help me with my lessons. She did not believe in the things they taught at the English school and was distressed that there was no teaching about God and scriptures. One day I announced that we were being given music lessons. She was very disturbed. To her, music had lewd associations. It was the monopoly of harlots and beggars and not meant for gentlefolk. She said nothing, but her silence met disapproval. She rarely talked to me after that. Now what happened? Now time is less. Now one another changes, there are so many other actually changes also have taken place. Whatever the author learns at the school, grandmother doesn't understand, number one. Second, grandmother doesn't agree, she disagrees with whatever she has, that means her grandchild was learning at the school. She was unhappy with the kind of music also he used to learn over there at school, and she used to think that, consider that sort of music, obviously not devotional music. She used to consider only devotional music as the good, that means good music. Otherwise, whatever the music he used to learn over there at school, she used to consider this one to have a lewd association with harlots and beggars, that means indecent. And Archimedes' principle, law of gravity, and etc. The content also she disapproved. She did not say anything. She did not utter any word. But she got to be very silent, and her silence meant everything. Disapproval, her unhappiness, and etc. So this is the second phase. We have discussed her appearance, first phase and second phase. Now, next phase onwards, dear students, I will discuss in my next video. So, let me end my video, this video here. I hope you stay safe, stay secure. See you in my second video. Bye.